Christmas Proposal. It's a 2021 film written and directed by Nakia T. Hamilton, and it stars Joshua T. Shipman as Jason and Lily Nicole as Carla. And I don't know if this is Christmas Proposal or A Christmas Proposal. The poster art says A Christmas Proposal, but the title on the film said Christmas Proposal. So I apologise if I refer to it one way and they ultimately decided to call it something else. It's not a good film, but it is watchable. There are a lot of very low ratings for this online, and I wouldn't rate it quite as poorly as some people. But that being said, I don't think I'd recommend it. Jason is in the army and he'd asked to be moved far, far away, and finally that request has been granted. He's supposed to be going to Japan, but he's now in a relationship with Carla, and Carla is only able to go with him if they're married. I don't know if that's true. I have no idea about how anything to do with the army works, so I'm just assuming that that would be the case, and he doesn't know how to tell her. And the film is basically all about him spending Christmas with her family, trying to find the right time to tell her about this. And honestly, the scenes with the family are really good. I really liked the characters, and I think the family scenes were really great, but I feel like they should have done a different story. Now, that defeats the purpose. I'm sure when the writer decided to create this film, the first idea was the story about needing to go to Japan, and the spending time with the family came second. But for me, that's the interesting part. The whole trying to find the time to tell her about Japan, I didn't care for it. I didn't think it was interesting, but I do understand that that probably was the driving force for creating this film. So I didn't love that part of it. It might appeal to some people more than me, particularly if there's an element of relatability there. But actually, the family, I thought, were really great. We had some really interesting characters there, and that worked quite well. However, it's not enough for me to say that it's a good film, largely because it is very, very slow. It's kind of depressing at times, and it's not even one of those films where it's depressing 1 minute and uplifting the next. I just feel like a lot of the characters were perhaps realistic, but not that uplifting. But at the same time, I did like some of the scenes with the family, so I realise that seems like a bit of a contradiction, but in a way, the film itself is a contradiction, because one scene is quite good, the next scene is really boring. And then we have another good scene, and then a rather dull scene after that. So it definitely is a bit of a roller coaster, and not a lot happens. It's not an interesting narrative, but I liked Carla's family. Even though, yes, some of the characters were a little bit more depressing than I would like. But we do have a bit of an emotional backstory. There is a reason for that. There is a reason why Christmas is quite a difficult time for them. I won't explain what that is. I won't give that part of the film away in case you do decide to watch it. But just because they have a reason for it, it doesn't mean it's a pleasant experience. So some good scenes, and the family were pretty good. But in general, it's not an enjoyable watch. It's very slow. It's very boring. I don't think there's anything about it that's bad as such, by which I mean the narrative flows well, the structure of the narrative is okay, even if it's not interesting, and I actually think the performances are not too bad, and the characters are very, well, as I said, they are very believable and very realistic, but again, that doesn't necessarily make for the most happy or jolly Christmas film, to say the very, very least. So I can't actually point to anything about it being specifically bad, but there's not very much about it that I can point to as being specifically good either. And that means that I don't really recommend it. However, if it sounds like it would appeal to you, if there is something in this that really stands out to you as being something that actually might work for you, then I'd say give it a go. It isn't a bad film. It's just not a good film. And while I don't regret the time spent watching it, I definitely wouldn't watch it again.